but she didn't realize all that shaking loosened the screws that held the ladder in place. After reaching the top of the tower, they started taking crazy photos like influencers, but just as they were about to climb down, the ladder suddenly slid down, and the screws popped out one by one. In the next second, Becky slipped and fell. Luckily, the rope held strong. She dangled in the air, 2,000 feet off the ground, swinging back and forth like a broken swing. If she fell, her body would be gone for sure. Hunter held onto the rope as tight as she could, trying to pull Becky back up, but her foot suddenly slipped. The sudden jolt made Becky scream in terror. Fortunately, Hunter quickly regained her balance. Working together, one pulled while the other climbed. After some struggling, Becky finally made it back to the top safely. Before they could even calm down, they realized something worse had happened. They looked down and were horrified. The entire ladder had broken off and fallen to the ground. Now they were stuck on an abandoned TV tower 2,000 feet in the air with no ladder, no way down. Hunter pulled out her phone to call for help, but there was no signal up that high. They searched the toolbox on the platform and found a pair of binoculars and a flare gun with ammo. Just then, Hunter made a discovery. The post she uploaded earlier from the ground had over 300 likes, which meant there must be signal a little lower down. She typed out a rescue message, tied her phone to a rope, and slowly lowered it down. But the rope wasn't long enough. They never heard the message get sent. Hunter made a bold decision. She climbed out of the safety cage and lowered herself down the broken ladder, dangling in the open air, 2,000 feet high. Still not enough. She even let go of one hand, trying to drop the phone just a little farther. Becky could barely breathe from the stress. Hunter was also running out of strength, but still, no signal. She had to climb back up. Then Becky had an idea. If the ground had signal, why not send the phone all the way down? Hunter agreed. She put the phone inside her shoe, then took off her bra and wrapped it around the phone like a cushion. They tossed the shoe down from 2,000 feet, hoping the bra would protect it from the fall. But they had no way of knowing if it survived, so they waited and waited. Hours passed. Still, no rescue. Clearly, the phone had been smashed on impact. Just when they were about to lose all hope, Hunter spotted someone at the bottom of the tower through the binoculars. The two girls got super excited and started shouting for help as loud as they could, but they were way too high up. The man below didn't hear a thing. Worse, he started walking away. Becky quickly took off her shoe and threw it down. It landed hard on the ground, but the man didn't notice. She threw the other one. This time, it hit a metal beam and made a loud noise. The man turned and looked around. He picked up the shoe, but strangely, he never looked up. After seeing no one around, he casually tossed the shoe aside and walked away. The girls were completely devastated. Becky grabbed the flare gun, ready to fire, but Hunter stopped her. The sun was too bright. A flare would be hard to see during the day. Then Hunter spotted an RV nearby. She guessed the man had come for camping and probably wouldn't leave too soon. Becky agreed to wait, and finally, night came. They aimed at the sky and fired the flare gun. The bright light lit up the night. Sure enough, the man noticed the flare. Through the binoculars, they saw him looking up at the tower. Hunter and Becky were overwhelmed with joy. They thought, finally, rescue was coming. But what happened next shocked them to the core. They saw the man walking toward their truck, holding a metal rod. He smashed their car window without hesitation. The girls stomped their feet in panic from above. Then he opened the door and got inside. The engine started. He was stealing their car. The two girls could only watch as their last hope disappeared into the distance, left stranded on top of a 2,000-foot tower, feeling more hopeless than ever. Now all they could do was pray the thief had a conscience and might call for help after all. They waited all the way until the next morning, but still, no rescue came. This couldn't go on. They hadn't had a drop of water in over a day. They had to save themselves, so Hunter decided to take a big risk. She tied off the safety rope and prepared to retrieve the backpack, stuck on the metal dish below. Even though Becky begged her not to do it, Hunter refused to listen. She tied one end of the rope to a pole, then slowly lowered herself down the side of the tower, step by step, using the steel frame for balance. Suddenly, her hand slipped and she was left swinging in the air. Hanging by the rope, she struggled to regain control, then carefully kept climbing downward. But when she reached the end of the rope, the backpack was still way too far away. She tried leaning sideways, reaching for it with one hand, but it was no use. Above, Becky was terrified. She begged Hunter to come back up, but Hunter had a crazier idea. She unclipped her safety rope. Now dangling with no protection, she held onto the rope with one hand and stretched the other hand toward the backpack. She swung back and forth in the air. Still couldn't reach it, so she kicked off the tower wall, launching herself higher, then timed it just right, swung her legs forward and let go. It was heart-stopping, but somehow, she landed perfectly on the metal dish. Hunter immediately grabbed the backpack, and the first thing she did was pull out the water bottle. She gulped down a huge mouthful, while Becky watched from above, swallowing hard. They had the backpack now, But how would Hunter get back up? She slowly stood up, steadying herself on the tower, trying to get as close to the rope as possible, then carefully reached out her right hand, but it was just out of reach. Then she had a bold idea. She stepped back, pulled out her selfie stick from the backpack, using it to hook the rope loop. She extended her arm, trying to hang the backpack on the rope loop, but it was too heavy. She tried again and again. Nothing worked. Just as she was about to give up, she finally managed to hook the bag onto the loop that gave her just enough length to grab it. Hunter crouched down, focused her eyes on the backpack, then jumped. She caught it mid-air. Becky gasped in shock from above, then quickly grabbed the rope and pulled with all her strength. Meanwhile, Hunter climbed fast, hand over hand, leg over leg. Soon, she was just below the top of the tower. Now she only needed to grab the last bit of ladder, and she'd be safe. But right at that moment, something went wrong. Hunter's arms gave out. She lost her grip and began to fall. It all happened so fast, Becky stood frozen in horror. She couldn't believe what she just saw. Tears poured down her face as she slowly leaned over the edge, ready to face the awful truth. But right as Hunter was falling, she managed to grab the rope at the last second. Her hands were torn and bleeding, so Becky had to pull her up alone. It felt almost impossible, but she quickly snapped out of it, used her legs to brace herself, and started pulling the rope with everything she had. With one final burst of strength, she hauled Hunter back to safety. The backpack came up too, the one with the water and the drone. Becky wasted no time. She pulled out the water bottle and chugged it down like her life depended on it. It was the first real relief in 2 days. Then they dug into the backpack again and took out the drone. Becky found a restaurant receipt inside the bag. She used an eyeliner pencil to write a rescue message on the blank side. They clipped the note onto the drone and got ready to send it toward the nearest motel. Everything was set. Becky controlled the drone and it took off smoothly. It flew fast and steady toward the distant motel. But before it could get far, the battery died. If the drone crashed now, it would be their last shot gone. So Becky had to bring it back. Just as the drone lost power, she reached out and caught it in the nick of time. But with no battery, they still couldn't send out their message. Feeling hopeless again, they suddenly thought of the signal light at the top of the tower. Maybe, just maybe, they could use it to charge the drone. Becky grabbed the backpack and started climbing again. Using both hands and feet, she slowly made her way to the very top. Once there, she unscrewed the cover and pulled out the light bulb. She plugged the drone charger in, and to her shock, it worked. Becky was thrilled. She didn't move a muscle and sat there for 2 whole hours until finally, the drone was fully charged. When Becky returned to the platform, she didn't stop for a second. She immediately launched the drone and sent it flying toward the motel. Soon, buildings started to appear on the screen. She just needed to reach a place with people. Someone would see the note clipped to the drone. Becky couldn't hold back her excitement. But just as the drone crossed the road, a truck sped by and smashed the drone to pieces. Becky was frozen in shock. She couldn't believe what had just happened. She had been so close. She saw the truck driver get out to check. If he saw the paper, they still had a chance. But the driver didn't notice the wrecked drone. He looked around, saw nothing, got back into his truck, and drove away. Becky broke down in tears. That was it. She had lost all hope, but things were about to get even worse. When she turned to look at Hunter, Hunter slowly turned her face toward her, revealing a bloody, rotting wound. Becky was overwhelmed with pain. Suddenly, the horrible truth hit her. Hunter had died when she fell onto the dish. She never survived that fall. Becky had been hallucinating the whole time. It was just the backpack she had pulled up, not Hunter. Since then, Becky had been completely alone on that tower, talking to a memory. She collapsed on the platform, completely unconscious under the burning sun. Suddenly, a hungry vulture flew down and pecked at her bloody thigh. But Becky quietly opened her eyes, locked her gaze on the bird and grabbed it by the neck. The vulture struggled violently, but Becky, starving and furious, managed to wrestle it down. Then, she started eating it raw. She didn't care. She only had one thought left: survive, no matter what. After eating, Becky untied the safety rope. She climbed down the remaining ladder section and clipped the rope to the lowest bar. Then she dropped the rest of the rope, grabbed it, and began sliding down, fast. This time there was no hesitation. Her moves were sharp and confident. She reached the end of the rope in no time, unclipped the lock, and jumped onto the dish. She looked at Hunter's decaying body and felt a flood of emotions, but what she did next was even more unbelievable. She typed a message to her dad, asking for help, even though there was still no signal. Then she took off Hunter's shoe, put the phone inside, and pushed it deep into Hunter's stomach through the wound. With everything in place, Becky gave the body one hard push and sent it falling 2,000 feet to the ground. With the flesh and shoe cushioning the fall, the phone would survive, and when it hit the ground, the signal would come back, and the message would be sent. Back home, her father James received the text. He called 911 right away and rushed to the tower. Becky was finally rescued. The moment Becky saw her dad, she ran straight into his arms and broke down sobbing.